Imagine finding out that the chemotherapy drugs in your local hospital, or even like the bearings and the heavy machinery at the factory down the street, were actually assembled from black market flat packs smuggled across a border.
Yeah, which sounds exactly like something out of a dystopian thriller.
It really does. But it's a very real scenario that we are diving into today. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Our mission today is mapping out the rapidly shifting, honestly super high-stakes landscape of investing and doing business in Vietnam.
Right, and we're looking at this right now in the spring of 2026. This economic powerhouse is, I mean, literally rewriting its own rule book as we speak.
It's wild. And, to really grasp what is happening for an investor or a business owner on the ground, we aren't just reading from one textbook today. We've pulled together this whole ecosystem of fresh intelligence.
Exactly. We're threading together brand new legal updates like the February 2026 update on the investment law plus strategic insights from MVA Vietnam on foreign ownership. Right. And we also have a legal breakdown of minority shareholder rights for employers, an incredibly comprehensive intelligence report from ICC BaseCap on that intellectual property battlefield you just mentioned.
Oh, that report is fascinating.
So eye-opening. And we even have some breaking news on a May 2026 government resolution handling international disputes.
It is a phenomenal transformation to watch.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because usually when we think of an emerging market, we picture a kind of Wild West, right? You imagine this chaotic landscape where the fastest players just grab land and the rules are basically made up as you go.
Right, yeah.
But Vietnam seems to be pushing back on that narrative entirely.
Well, they have to. I mean, with exponential economic growth comes massive growing pains, To survive those pains and keep global capital flowing in, the frontier has to be tamed.
Totally. And before you can even worry about your intellectual property being smuggled or fighting with the state,
Yeah.
you have to actually be allowed to build your business in the first place.
Exactly. Getting in the door is step one.
Right. And our intelligence points to the new 2025 investment law, which just hit the ground running on March 1st, 2026. And this seems to completely change the sequence of how a foreign investor gets through the door.
Yeah, it really does. If we connect this to the bigger picture to really appreciate what changed, we need to look at the baseline mechanics of foreign ownership limits.
Okay, BFOLs.
Right. Vietnam essentially categorizes its economy into three buckets for foreign money. The first bucket is wide open. We're talking sectors like IT and manufacturing. If you are a foreign investor, you can own 100% of the company.
Oh, wow. So total control.
Exactly. But then on the complete opposite end, you have the prohibited bucket. Defense, certain types of media, no foreign ownership allowed whatsoever.
Makes sense. But the friction really happens in that middle bucket, right? The conditional sectors.
That's where all the nuances, yeah. These are sectors where the government absolutely wants foreign investment, but they want to maintain local control. So think banking, telecommunications, or logistics.
Right.
In these areas, your foreign ownership is legally capped. So depending on the specific activity, you might only be allowed to own 49%, 51%, or maybe 65% of the enterprise.
And what caught my eye in the new 2026 law is that it actually trims down that conditional list to exactly 198 business lines.
Yes, which is a big deal for clarity.
Yeah, and it also explicitly bans certain things entirely, like e-cigarettes and heated tobacco products are now completely banned from legal business operations.
Right, they just wipe those off the table.
But from an operational standpoint, the real friction point historically hasn't just been the sector list, right? It's been the paperwork, specifically the IRC and the ERC.
Oh, absolutely. The investment registration certificate versus the enterprise registration certificate.
Walk me through this because the timeline here seems like it was a total nightmare for businesses.
It was. Under the old rules, if I wanted to start a foreign-owned company, I needed the investment certificate before I could get my enterprise certificate.
Right.
And getting that investment registration certificate, the IRC, historically required proving out the viability of your entire investment project to the government. You had to show them the business case, the capital, the whole plan.
Which I'm guessing takes forever.
Months. It takes months. But here was the catch. Without the enterprise registration certificate, the ERC, you didn't legally exist as a corporate entity in Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Which means I couldn't do anything practical.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if my company doesn't legally exist yet, I can't sign a commercial lease for office space.
Exactly.
I can't open a corporate bank account, which means I can't even pay local staff to actually help me set up the business. It was just this massive bureaucratic logjam where investors were just stuck in limbo.
And that is exactly the paralysis the new law is trying to cure. The new law flips the sequence entirely.
So now I can get the enterprise certificate first.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like being allowed to build your house and move your furniture in, signing the lease, hiring the team, opening the accounts before you get the final ultimate zoning permit for the property. That removes the bureaucratic logjam.
That is a perfect analogy. You can build the house. It is a huge leap forward for operational speed. But let's look at the actual mechanism of control here, because the government isn't just handing over the keys and walking away.
Right, because you still ultimately need that investment certificate.
Exactly.
But wait, why? If my business is already up and running and I have my staff?
Because of the exit door. You can operate locally with just the enterprise certificate, but if you want to legally transfer your profits abroad, like out of Vietnam, you must have that investment registration certificate.
Oh, wow. So the government is basically saying, come on in, set up your shop, spend your capital here, but they are holding the key to the exit door for your profits.
Right, to ensure you actually comply with their long-term investment goals. They are balancing the need for speed with the need for ultimate oversight.
That's so smart.
It really is. And we see this same practical governance in how they are decentralizing power. Instead of every major project sitting on the prime minister's desk waiting for approval, provincial leaders and industrial zone managers now have the authority to approve projects locally.
Which speeds things up even more.
Dramatically. And if you build in a high-tech zone, they can even hand out 70-year project terms. They are really trusting local authorities to manage the growth.
Okay, let's follow that thread of local control, because I think it leads us directly into a massive vulnerability. We talked about those conditional sectors earlier. Let's say logistics, where a foreign investor is capped at 49%.
Right.
If I have the capital, but I'm legally capped at 49%, that means I am forced to form a joint venture with a local Vietnamese partner who holds the 51%.
Making you the minority shareholder.
And that sounds terrifying because, if things go sideways, I'm the little guy in the boardroom. How does Vietnamese law even define a minority shareholder right now?
Well, it's an entirely practical definition now. Historically, back in a 1998 decree, they strictly defined a minority as owning under 1% of the shares.
Wow, under 1%.
Yeah, but that expired back in 2003. So today, the definition is based on your voting power and your actual inability to control major corporate decisions.
Okay, but let me push back on this.
Yeah.
If I own 49% and my local partner owns 51%, and the law says one ordinary share equals one vote, I still lose every single vote.
Technically, yes.
So how does the law actually stop the majority owner from just steamrolling me? The research details how majority owners will use administrative tricks, like conveniently forgetting to send meeting invitations or restricting access to financial reports.
Yeah, that happens.
So if they have the votes, do I have any real power to stop bad decisions, or am I just along for the ride while they drive the bus off a cliff?
You actually have significantly more leverage than the raw math suggests, provided you understand the mechanics of the 2020 enterprise law.
Okay, how so?
Let's tackle the administrative tricks first. The law explicitly guarantees your fundamental rights. Your right to attend the general meeting of shareholders and your right to access critical corporate information. They cannot legally lock you out of the room or hide the books.
Okay, sure. But I go to the meeting, I read the financial reports, and they still outvote me 51-49.
Right. But here is where the mechanism of power actually works. Let's say you review those financial reports and you spot a sketchy related party transaction.
Like what?
Like the 51% majority partner is siphoning company funds to a supply business owned by their cousin.
Oh, gotcha.
Your guaranteed access allows you to trigger an independent audit. You can drag their financial maneuvers into the light. Furthermore, corporate power isn't always a simple majority.
Wait. Cool.
Yeah. Depending on the company charter, massive structural decisions like selling off the company's core assets or fundamentally changing the business lines often require a supermajority, like 65% or 75% approval.
Ah, so my 49% gives me veto power over the company's very existence.
Exactly. You can effectively hold up quorum or block major structural changes. You are a permanent thorn in their side if they try to cheat you.
But why would the Vietnamese government even create laws that protect foreign investors over their own local business leaders? If the local guy is winning, why step in?
Capital flight.
No, no.
Think about it from a global capital perspective. If you are an institutional investor watching from London or Tokyo, and you see local partners legally holding foreign capital hostage without any consequence, you are not going to invest.
Right. You'd put your money somewhere safer.
Exactly. Protecting that little guy, that 49% minority, is vital for the macroeconomy. A safe environment for minority shareholders is the engine that drives overall foreign direct investment. If you want the money to flow into the country, you have to protect the people bringing it in.
That makes total sense. So, okay, you've navigated the investment law, you've secured your veto power in the boardroom, and your factory's humming along.
Right.
But then you realize the local partner isn't your biggest threat. What happens when your intellectual property is stolen not by your partner, but by the black market?
And that is a huge issue.
We brought up those counterfeit flat packs at the beginning. The intelligence report from ICC Base Cap on the IP battlefield in Vietnam is absolutely staggering.
It paints a very intense picture of a market under siege. I mean, software piracy alone is hovering around 78%, though that is actually slightly down from 81%.
Still, 78% is wild, and almost a quarter, like 23.2% of all cigarettes consumed, are smuggled. Specifically brands like Jet and Hero, which the report notes contain dangerously illegal toxin levels.
And that completely shifts the narrative, doesn't it? When people hear IP theft or counterfeit goods, they usually picture a fake designer handbag being sold on a street corner.
Right, like a victimless crime against some luxury conglomerate. But we are talking about actual public safety here.
Absolutely.
Fake cancer drugs. The report cites a major case involving counterfeit capecitabine, which is a crucial chemotherapy drug. People's lives are quite literally on the line.
Yes.
Or the fact that 47% of condoms tested failed quality standards, and they are very often packaged and sold under trusted brand names like Durex.
It's terrifying. And it attacks the foundational industries of the country as well. Fake agrochemicals, counterfeit pesticides and fertilizers are destroying crops, they're hurting local farmers, and threatening Vietnam's massive rice and coffee export markets.
Which is huge for their economy.
Exactly. And in the industrial sector, fake machine bearings are causing catastrophic factory accidents.
Here's where the mechanics of this crime get really, really interesting to me. The sophistication of the smuggling routes. You mentioned how customs enforcement usually works. We imagine a truck full of fake Rolexes trying to cross a border checkpoint.
Right.
But the report details an IKEA furniture model for counterfeit goods.
The flat pack strategy.
Yes, it's like IKEA furniture, but for counterfeit goods. So the counterfeiters order the raw materials completely separately from China to evade customs. They will ship a container of unbranded plain glass bottles filled with fake pesticide. That crosses the border.
Because it's not illegal yet.
Exactly. Then, weeks later, on a totally different truck, they ship the counterfeit labels and packaging. How is a customs agent supposed to stop that? They see a truck full of plain bottles and another truck full of printed stickers. Neither of those is technically a fake product yet.
The mechanism of the crime is brilliant because it exploits a gap in enforcement. They assemble the fraud locally, inside Vietnam, and the penalties simply haven't caught up to deter this level of organization.
The fines are a joke, right?
Pretty much. The maximum administrative fine for an organization caught operating one of these syndicates is currently 500 million Vietnamese dong.
I did the math on that before we started. That is roughly $20,000 to $23,000 US. For a syndicate moving millions in fake pharmaceuticals, that is literally just a parking ticket.
Yeah, it's just built into their business model as the cost of doing business. And there is another massive legal loophole at the border itself. Customs officials can stop illegal fake goods from being imported into Vietnam. But legally speaking, shockingly, exporting is not currently classified as using an intellectual property right.
Wait, meaning customs literally lacks the authority to stop a shipment of fully assembled fake goods from leaving the country.
They do not have the explicit legal mandate to seize and destroy those goods if they are headed outbound.
So Vietnam could inadvertently become this massive safe haven for assembling and exporting fakes to the rest of the world. That is terrifying for their international trade reputation.
What's fascinating here is that domestic Vietnamese brands are bleeding just as heavily now. This isn't just a Western corporate concern anymore.
Right.
Take Vinamilk, for example, the domestic dairy giant, which has a brand value estimated at over $1.1 billion. They suffer heavily from counterfeiting.
Oh.
Yeah, if you don't have strong IP laws, you are punishing your own most successful companies. Strong IP laws are the engine of domestic innovation. And the economic data is clear on this. A 1% increase in patent protection correlates directly to a 2.8% increase in foreign direct investment. IP law is what builds international trust.
So we've looked at corporate boardroom disputes with local partners. We've explored the shadow wars with smugglers and the flat-pack black market. There's an ultimate escalation in the business world.
Right.
What happens when the fight goes all the way to the top? When a foreign investor clashes with the Vietnamese state itself? How does the country handle a fight on the international stage?
This is the apex of investment risk. Investor-state disputes.
And this brings us to the breaking news we mentioned at the start. A brand new, highly specific government resolution that just took effect in May 2026. Resolution 2020-26QH16.
Yes. And this deals explicitly with how to prevent and resolve international investment disputes between the state and foreign investors, specifically defined as those owning over 50% of an enterprise. The strategy in this new law is incredibly revealing. You would think a sovereign nation facing a dispute with a corporation would just beef up its legal defense team to fight the investors in global arbitration courts.
Right, just lawyer up.
But the entire focus of this new resolution is heavily weighted toward early coordination. It mandates a feedback mechanism to handle investor complaints before they mutate into full-blown lawsuits.
I read the breakdown of this and was frankly baffled. It requires the Prime Minister, or a specialized steering committee, to review and approve mediation plans.
Yes.
And it explicitly allows the government to hire independent third-party consultants to help resolve the dispute peacefully.
Wait, so the government is basically setting up a highly specialized international customer service desk to mediate problems before they end up in a global tribunal.
This raises an important question, but yes, in a practical sense, that is exactly what they're doing.
But why? Why would a sovereign state voluntarily bind itself to a mediation framework like this? If a foreign company is unhappy, shouldn't the state just say, take us to court, we make the laws here? Because taking a state to an international arbitration tribunal is a nightmare for the state. Think about the mechanics of an investor-state dispute settlement. They are notoriously lengthy, often taking years to resolve.
Right.
They cost tens of millions of dollars in legal fees alone. But honestly, worse than the financial cost is the optics. When you are dragged into a global tribunal, you are broadcasting to the entire global financial community that your country is a risky, hostile place to invest.
It spikes the risk premium. If I'm a global manufacturer watching Vietnam fight a messy public legal battle with a foreign investor, I might just decide to move my new factory to a neighboring country instead.
Exactly. This represents a maturing legal framework. So by institutionalizing mediation, Vietnam is stepping in early. They are legally requiring a mechanism to talk it out and fix the problem quietly.
That's brilliant.
It is. It signals to the world that they are a safe, predictable, and reasonable place to park millions of dollars of foreign capital. They are playing the long game.
Which really brings this entire journey full circle for you listening today. Whether you are an entrepreneur looking to expand a manufacturing base, an institutional investor watching the shifting tectonic plates of global supply chains, or just a consumer wondering why brand protection matters to your physical safety, Vietnam serves as the ultimate real-world case study right now.
Absolutely. We have watched them smooth out the entry point by reversing the sequence of enterprise and investment certificates.
Right, ERC before IRC.
We've seen the internal mechanics of how minority shareholders can pull emergency levers in the boardroom to protect internal capital. We've explored the life and death stakes of fighting the black market with IP reform. And finally, how the state is managing international relations with this new dispute resolution.
It is a massive, incredibly complex transformation. But, it leaves us with a lingering thought to ponder.
Oh.
Yeah. We so often praise the idea of a frictionless, deregulated emerging market, the Wild West where anything goes and business is unfettered.
Sure, people love that idea.
But as we've seen today, to truly reach economic maturity, you actually require more rules. You need strict IP enforcement, complex shareholding mechanisms, and rigid dispute resolution frameworks. Is the heavy hand of legal bureaucracy actually the inevitable, necessary price of global economic success?
That's a great point.
It's definitely something to explore on your own as you watch the next great emerging market rise.